Swampy salutations. I spent this morning actually volunteering. I volunteer for a dog rescue, Appalachian Great Pyrenees Rescue, if you're curious. It's based in Richmond. That's where we got both of our dogs from. So I like them. I made some videos. I don't know what I'm looking at. It's like a leaf that I just found. I'm going to just set that down. Anyway, so I made some videos for them. I do a lot of fundraising and like marketing work. I help with like the Instagram page. I help with the website. I post blog posts. I write blog posts. I do a lot of brainstorming with them to figure stuff out. So, you know, it's a good time, and they're great people. And obviously we love Great Pyrenees dogs. Great Pyrenees, one of their breed like personality traits is that they tend to wander. And so a lot of times they'll wander off. And so there's a pretty big need. They're working dogs. So a lot of times they get, they live outside, they protect flocks, they protect sheep and, I don't know, chickens, whatever people have around. They're great dogs, very chill for the most part, very laid back, but they're very big. And so what happens is you have these dogs that either wander off or they're abandoned or people can't deal with them because when they're teenagers, they can be very chompy, as we like to call our own teenager. So they like to chew on things, and people get frustrated because they're cute, fluffy puppies, and then they get to be like 100-pound biting machines. Not people biting, they just like to gnaw on things like furniture and shoes. And so people will surrender them. Anyway, there's lots of reasons that people give dogs back to the rescue, but they will the dogs are frequently too big for like normal rescues to deal with. And so that's why you have rescues like ours. There's also rescues that are specific to like Bernese Mountain Dogs or Great Danes, etc. Just because the big dogs are much harder to like handle. They're just more challenging in ways that small dogs aren't. Great dogs. But they take up a lot of space and they eat a lot of food. Anyway, so I'm on the board and I do a lot of marketing and I do a lot of work for them. And I spent this morning. But what it got me to thinking about is how skills that seem like they're really specific to one thing are really applicable across the board. And in this particular instance, storytelling has been super helpful for me, whether I'm like making videos or writing blog posts or whatever. Having the ability to like take a story that someone might tell to me as just like a disjointed jumble of facts, about a particular dog or something like that, and being able to craft it into a narrative. It's so helpful when you're fundraising because it's not just like these dogs need help, right? Like they do. And, you would hope that that is enough for people to donate and adopt and help out, but it oftentimes isn't. But if you can craft it into a story and you can make people have an emotional response to the story that you're telling or to the video, that is so much more helpful because then people are like, not just like, oh, those dogs need help, I should donate, but they like, oh I feel deeply connected. Like I feel like I know this dog. I feel like I know about this dog, and I just feel like I need to help. I feel like I need to do something. And that is really important when you're trying to raise money for a nonprofit. In particular, one where the expenses keep going up. Vet bills have like skyrocketed, and I don't know, food costs have skyrocketed. The cost of hiring people to help has skyrocketed. And I think a lot of nonprofits are struggling in general. So this is, if you're looking for a sign to donate to your favorite nonprofit, this is it. I'll put a link to AGPR so you can help the dogs if you want. But it can be really, really hard. But knowing how to tell stories has been really helpful. Now, that's just one sort of meta skill that has a lot of crossover, but knowing how to write, knowing how to make videos, knowing about social media, knowing about marketing, right? These are all things that I learned as part of my job as a writer that I have then taken and applied to working with the dog rescue. And I do it in a lot of other ways too, just like having a workflow. It's such a dumb thing, but no matter where I work, I can use that, right? Systems thinking is really helpful in pretty much any career and any sort of job that you have to do. When I teach, like if I'm doing workshops, I focus on storytelling when I'm giving a workshop. It's just that the story is a little bit less obvious, right? It's like, how do you do this one particular thing? Well, let's start at the beginning, ask the question, deliver the hook, right? That's the same thing that you do when you're writing a novel. What's the question? What question are you trying to answer with the story that you're telling? And then you pull your listener through the process of like understanding, and like you give them an emotional experience. You try to get them to connect with you. You're trying to get them to connect with the material that you're teaching, and people are going to learn from you a lot better that way than otherwise. So, and it's the same thing with the dogs. Emotional experiences make people feel connected, and storytelling is the way that you deliver an emotional experience. I have to give a workshop in a few weeks on narrative tension. And I think that's going to be my point, which is probably part of the reason that I keep thinking about this. Is the point of narrative tension is not about conflict, and it's not about mystery. I was watching Monk, the TV show Monk. It's about a detective with really bad OCD who solves mysteries. He's, very observant and notices a lot of things, which fuels his OCD, of course. And one of the things I noticed was that in the beginning of most episodes, they tell you who the murderer is. So I was like, wait a second. If they tell you who the murderer is, then this mystery isn't about who the murderer is. It's not even about how they did it, because half the time you know how they did it too. The reason the show is so popular is because the episodes are about Monk. They're about the detective and the process that he goes through and the challenges that he faces and how he overcomes those to solve the mystery, right? And so it's about emotional. It's about having an emotional connection to this particular character. So I'm not saying that the curiosity about who did it or how they did it or whatever doesn't play a role in the story. It certainly does. But in most of them, it really comes down to Monk, which is how is he going to figure it out, and how is he going to get over his own, neuroses in order to figure it out. Yeah. I have a cold, so I've been sitting around a lot, watching a lot of Monk. Anyway, so I have a board meeting in half an hour for the rescue, which is again why I was thinking about it. But I think that storytelling is really interesting, and I think it can be applied to life. I think it can be applied to communication. Like how do you, like, okay, let's say you came home from work and you're telling your spouse about your day. How do you decide what details? Some people are going to tell literally every single detail. Other people are going to start with the things that are the most important to them, or like the most upsetting, right? Or the thing with the biggest emotional impact. Other people are going to do it chronologically, but like only tell like the key things. It's like, oh, well, I dropped the small human off at school, and I saw Mrs. So-and-so, and she told me this fun fact. I picked up groceries and I, did the laundry, or whatever. I'm making this up off the top of my head, and I'm getting perpetually distracted because there's a squirrel out my window that's just like running around. And then there's also a bunch of birds. So I don't really know if they're like having a meeting or, organizing some kind of march or whatever. Anyway, my point is storytelling. There's lots of skills in general that are like applicable across the board and that are easily that you can share from one to the next. Like task or one role or whatever. But I think storytelling is a really interesting one. And that's what I was thinking about this morning. How can I tell the story of these dogs? And how can I tell the story of this rescue in a way that's going to make people want to donate and participate, and in a way that's going to make people feel connected to us? Because if they feel connected to us, they're going to be so much more likely to provide support, even if it's not financial support. Maybe they'll come out and volunteer. We always need people to help transport dogs. We need fosters, right? So there's all kinds of things that people can do to help the rescue. It's just a matter of like figuring out how to get them to feel connected to the point that they want to do those things that help us. So that's what I was thinking about today. How can I get people to feel connected? In some of the videos was just it's just like the story, right? Like just kind of like the high level. But when you show videos and images of the dogs, people respond to that like so much better. That's interesting. I mean, I know that. Sorry. I was just thinking about like part of it is storytelling, yes. And it's like figuring out the way to share the details and figuring out how to give the emotional experience. But it's also like you can deepen the emotional experience a person has in the way that you choose to tell it. So I've been doing videos because people love watching dog videos, right? And people spend a lot of time on Instagram and on TikTok and on Facebook. So like a lot of social media. But there's a big difference between a video where you just have like a person talking over a static photo and a video of a person like dubbed over a video of a dog versus a video of a person talking to a dog live. Like those three things create different emotional experiences, and the more you can have, the more you can sort of intensify it. I also tend to put music on my videos because that also intensifies the emotional experience. See, it's so interesting to think about. And in writing, it's about, the order of the plot details, but it's also about the word choice. It's also about the character. Even the cover art affects the emotional experience that a reader has when they're reading a book. So all of these things are important and interesting. So that's probably good. I don't have a convenient photo of my dog. I guess I could put extra effort in and put one at the end of this video. Or you could just go follow Blueberry, our dog's Instagram account, at Pyrenees Good Boy. And I will link to that. And then you can see all the videos, all the reels that I make, and they're really cute dogs. And I'll put the rescue, Appalachian Great Pyrenees Rescue, I'll put a link to them as well in the YouTube things. Also, you can follow me if you want more ramblings by this swamp hag. Anyway, happy today. I still haven't come up with an outro that I like, but happy today is kind of nice. Swampy salutations. Happy today. Okay. I don't know. Maybe that's not really me. I need something a little crankier. I'll figure it out. Okay. That's all. I have a board meeting in just a few minutes. So happy today.